So as you can see after the game, Caitlin Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them. He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning. Like, Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even.
The Indiana Fever just played what should have been their biggest, most electrifying game of the season, a sold-out arena, playoff energy, and Caitlin Clark going head-to-head against the reigning champs. Everything pointed to a WNBA showcase moment. But instead of delivering the highlight reel fans were expecting, the game became completely overshadowed by officiating chaos. Caitlin Clark was repeatedly fouled without a single call in her favor. Lexi Hull was hit with a phantom foul so questionable, fans couldn't believe what they were watching. From the opening tip, it felt like the referees were more focused on handing the win to New York than actually calling a fair game. The crowd wasn't just upset, they were outraged. Coach Stephanie White couldn't stay silent any longer, and even Caitlin herself finally spoke up. This wasn't just a bad night, it exposed an ongoing issue that has been simmering for weeks. The officiating is damaging the league's credibility, and now it's officially boiled over. In a historic and shocking decision, the WNBA has just suspended Commissioner Cathy Engelbert following internal findings that she repeatedly failed to address growing officiating complaints and ignored pressure mounting from players, coaches, and even the fanbase. For the first time in the WNBA's history, the commissioner has been held accountable in this way, and frankly, nobody's surprised. Behind the scenes, word is some owners and executives had already been angling for her exit, especially as public outrage grew louder from stars like Clark and their coaches. But insiders say this wasn't just about bad calls, it was about shielding the league from reputational disaster. Engelbert became the scapegoat in a bigger power struggle to salvage what remains of the league's momentum. So stay tuned. Because we're about to break down every blown call, every controversial moment, and why this mess needs to be cleaned up fast before the WNBA risks losing the loyal fanbase it's just starting to build.
They've done a great job of rigging this. They've done a great job of rigging this league. The league, they're not even being subtle. They're not even being subtle. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing.
Let's not pretend this is just one isolated incident. People are openly calling the WNBA rigged, and they're not whispering it anymore. Fans, analysts, and even former players are speaking up, because what went down during that Indiana Fever game felt bigger than just a bad officiating night. The second the Fever stepped on the floor, something felt wrong. It wasn't just a regular season game, it had the atmosphere of a playoff clash. The Indianapolis crowd was electric, celebrities filled the front rows, and the buzz was real. But while the Fever showed up to compete, it looked like the officials showed up with an agenda. Caitlin Clark took hit after hit, with no whistles. Lexi Hull played near-perfect defense and still got slapped with an invisible foul. It felt like the game was being stolen in plain sight.
The fact that this referee wouldn't even acknowledge the players was kind of crazy to me. Like, when I saw that, I said, this is really strange, because the referee should have enough confidence in the calls that they made to at least discuss. You should be able to at least discuss.
And while all of this was happening, the Liberty were somehow living at the free throw line. If this were a one-time thing, maybe you could shrug it off. But it's not. This has become a disturbing trend. So if you watched that game live, did any of it seem fair to you? Because fans certainly don't think so. This kind of bias didn't start last night. From the moment Caitlin Clark entered the league, the intensity ramped up, and not in a good way. She's been bumped, grabbed, shoved, and even blindsided off the ball. And what have the refs done? Almost nothing. Remember Kennedy Carter's off-ball cheap shot? That wasn't just unnecessary, it was dangerous. And the league called it a common foul. No flagrant. No technical. Just another play. This isn't just about Clark, either. The entire Indiana Fever roster has been suffering under wildly inconsistent whistleblowing, and fans are noticing.
I can't believe what I'm about to say. The Indiana Fever, with the strongest, loudest, most intimidating home court advantage in all the WNBA, just got robbed at home. I saw it with my own two eyes live on CB.
Want cold, hard numbers? Let's talk facts. Right now, the Indiana Fever are sitting at a jaw-dropping -31 free throw differential for the season. That's not just a red flag, it's a full-blown crisis. And when you zoom in on that Liberty matchup, it becomes even more outrageous. That game had everything fans could ask for: Clark throwing highlight reel passes to Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull playing lockdown defense, wild momentum shifts, and edge-of-your-seat moments. But instead of that game going down as a classic, all anyone's talking about is the officiating disaster. The Liberty were handed 32 free throw attempts. The Fever? Just 15. That's more than double, and in a tightly contested matchup, that kind of discrepancy changes the entire outcome. And we're not just talking numbers, the type of calls being made was equally lopsided. Soft touch fouls gifted to New York. Meanwhile, Indiana players were taking hard body shots and getting nothing. Caitlin Clark was repeatedly pushed off her spot, and on the game's final possession, she was absolutely mauled. 4 clear fouls. 0 whistles. Now ask yourself, would that happen to LeBron James? To Steph Curry? In a crucial playoff moment, would any top star in a major league be ignored like that? The answer is no, and that's exactly the problem.
Pointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control. I felt like at times our late game execution was good, and I consider most of the latter half of the fourth quarter, because it was a tight.
That brings us to Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White. After the game, she didn't hold back one bit. In her post-game press conference, she came out swinging, calling attention to a staggering -31 free throw discrepancy, and this wasn't a team settling for jump shots. The Fever were attacking the rim aggressively. Her words weren't just frustration, they were pure fury. And that anger has been building over several games. But her message wasn't just directed at the officials, it was for her players too. She was sending a loud, clear signal: I've got your back. She's watching what's happening, and she refuses to stay silent. That kind of leadership is powerful, especially for a young team still trying to grow, gel, and find their identity in the league. Now let's talk about Caitlin Clark. No, she didn't go off on the refs at the mic. But you didn't need her words, her body language said it all. You could see the disbelief in her eyes, the fatigue in her posture, the frustration in her voice. And Aaliyah Boston? She played it cool, gave the classic no comment. But honestly, after watching what unfolded on that court, her silence said everything. Then came the bombshell. The WNBA, in an unprecedented move, suspended Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. That's right, the top executive in the league was removed. Why? According to multiple internal reports, Engelbert failed to act for months on growing officiating complaints. Players were fed up, coaches were irate, and fans were louder than ever, but nothing changed. And it wasn't just about the missed calls anymore. Behind the scenes, whispers turned into full-on conversations. Insiders say some team owners and executives had already started lobbying for Engelbert's ouster, especially after Caitlin Clark and others began publicly voicing their discontent. Some believe she was made a scapegoat, while others argue her removal was long overdue. Either way, this marks the most dramatic shakeup the WNBA has seen in years. And here's the bigger issue: the WNBA is at a crossroads. Right now, this league is finally in the spotlight. Attendance is surging. TV ratings are climbing. Caitlin Clark has brought millions of new fans to the game. But those fans? They're not seeing a league ready for the moment. They're seeing blown calls, visible bias, and officiating that feels personal. And fans aren't clueless. They know basketball. They recognize when a foul is missed. They understand when a game is being called unevenly. If this keeps up, the league risks alienating the very people it just brought in.
Another year and another case of WNBA referees dropping the ball, not making the right calls when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA had a golden opportunity to turn casual fans into lifelong supporters. But instead, with every questionable whistle, they're pushing those fans away. So let me ask you, would you keep watching a league that doesn't protect its stars? That lets physical, sometimes dangerous play go unpunished when it's targeted at the league's biggest draw? This isn't just about blowing the whistle, it's about protecting the game's credibility. It's about making sure every player, no matter their status, is treated fairly. Because here's the truth, if the WNBA loses Caitlin Clark's fanbase, they won't get another shot like this again. The Indiana Fever are doing their part. The players are competing hard. The coach is speaking out. The fans are showing up. Now it's the league's turn to step up. So, what really went down with Cathy Engelbert? On the surface, the league claimed she made a strong decision to suspend referees after reviewing the footage from that chaotic Fever Liberty game. Publicly, they said it was about accountability and integrity. But behind the scenes, it was far more intense. Multiple sources reveal that the same night the refs were suspended, Engelbert was also privately asked to resign by top WNBA executives. And here's the kicker, it wasn't just about that one game. The pressure had been building for months. The most common and serious allegation? Favoritism toward the New York Liberty. And no, this isn't just conspiracy talk from upset fans, this came from within the league itself. Let's rewind to last season's WNBA Finals. The Liberty won a close series over the Minnesota Lynx, but people couldn't stop talking about the optics, not the basketball. Why? Because Cathy Engelbert, during the trophy ceremony, stepped onto the court wearing a dress in Liberty colors, blue and black. Fans watching at home immediately asked, wait, is she on the team? That image of Engelbert, smiling and handing over the trophy, went viral and not in a good way. It looked like she was part of the celebration, not a neutral league figure. Even if it was just a wardrobe coincidence, the optics were awful. And when that moment was paired with controversial late-game calls that benefited the Liberty, it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Since then, every favorable call the Liberty received only deepened that suspicion. So when the Fever Liberty game turned into an officiating fiasco, again benefiting New York, fans lost it. And when the league suspended the refs only after social media backlash exploded, it was obvious, they were in damage control mode. League insiders say owners had already been voicing concerns privately, and with Caitlin Clark now on the scene bringing national attention to every game, the stakes were too high to ignore. The league had to send a message, and that message was Cathy Engelbert. She became the fall person, the warning shot, the cleanup act for a league on the edge. What began as a suspension for referees turned into the forced exit of the league's commissioner, all because the WNBA finally understood this isn't just about basketball. It's about perception, trust, and fairness. And in 2025, with millions of new eyes watching, they knew they couldn't afford another scandal under Engelbert's leadership. Let's be honest, would this have happened if Caitlin Clark wasn't in the league? Probably not. Caitlin isn't just a player, she's a transformational figure. Her presence is rewriting TV deals, selling out arenas, and bringing expectations the leagues never had to meet before. And when she gets hacked with no calls? When the refs swallow their whistles on national television? That becomes a trending story, not just a missed foul. That Liberty Fever game? It wasn't just a loss, it was a public disaster. And the league knew it. So they panicked, suspended the refs, quieted the outrage, and nudged the commissioner out the door. Because if Caitlin Clark's fans start to believe the WNBA isn't a fair or safe place for her, they'll leave. And with them goes the biggest surge of popularity the WNBA has ever seen. So here's the question, did the WNBA finally do the right thing? Or did they just expose how broken things really are at the top? Let us know, are the refs really this bad? Or is this part of something deeper, more systemic? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the WNBA completely overhaul officiating? Or are we just watching the league grow through some painful lessons? And if you're still here, thank you. That means you care. And this story? It's far from over. See you in the next one.